All right. Good morning, and thank you for coming to our next panel. It's about damn time to have a candid conversation about AI in Hollywood. Today's moderator is Matt Rivet, partner and head media of entertainment at Altman Solon, a boutique strategy consultancy that serves business leaders and investors in telecom, media, and technology markets.
In his role as leader of the media and entertainment practice, Matt advises CEOs, CFOs, chief strategy officers, and division heads at major studio networks, direct-to-consumer services, and supply chain technology companies as they contemplate and plan for growth and operational excellence in the short, medium, and long term. Additionally, Matt advises top private equity investors as they evaluate opportunities, conduct diligence on companies in media, entertainment, and technology space. Please give a warm welcome to our moderator, Matt Rivet.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the gracious introduction. Welcome, DataCon LA. Thank you for taking your time on a Saturday. I'm joined here by four, call it titans of industry here, who know quite a bit about AI, data, and are really very familiar with everything impacting the market today. So we're going to do introductions in a bit more detail in a second, but to maybe just get us started, from left to right here, you got Xavier Kochhar. Yes, round of applause, please. Jaden McFall. Jaden Levitt, and Eytan Elbaz. All right, so like I said, what if I told you that for the next hour, okay, we're going to have these four folks talking about what they're seeing in the market, and then we'll do a Q&A session. Is that something you guys might be interested in? Yeah? Okay, cool. So to get us started, we're going to do brief intros. Eytan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you find yourself here today?
Hi, everybody. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and I got out here to go to a university across the way, UCLA. Any Bruins in the house? Good to hear that. I'd like to hear a little more, but that's okay. It was a non-zero answer. All right. I did a computer science engineering degree. Back in '99, I started a company with my brother and a couple other guys. It's called Oingo. We changed our name to Applied Semantics. We created a product called Adsense, and we sold that company to Google. Then I worked at Google for like 5 years, and then co-founded 3 companies since then, most notably a company called Scopely, mobile gaming business, and we just sold that company recently. And now I'm working on a new AI project. We'll talk about that sometime during this hour. I'm going to hand it over to my friend Jaden. Oh, wait. Okay.
You are a prolific VC angel investor in the Los Angeles community. I think it's probably important to highlight that as well.
I've written 57 angel checks, and I plan to write 57 more. So if you've got good ideas, let me know. And yeah, I'm a venture partner with 10110 Ventures. We've written over 100 checks, over 3 funds, going back over 10 years. We got 5 partners there, and we fund a lot of businesses. We tend to look around seed stage. We tend to look for at least one engineer, technical co-founder, preferably. And we funded all kinds of businesses. I'm sure some from the USC ecosystem, but I can't remember offhand which of those businesses. Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Hi, everyone. I'm Jaden Levitt. I went to USC for 6 months, so cheers to that. So I actually started my career in the Hollywood mailroom. If anyone's seen the show Entourage, I was Lloyd. I don't know if anyone's seen the show. One guy, thanks. Down here. There. So I was there for a couple years, worked for Ridley Scott, the director. Started to feel that Hollywood wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, so I joined the world of startups, and I built a fractional CFO services company that helped about 250 companies grow. Along the way, I learned a lot about the creator economy, and I ended up starting a company in that space. I built a company called Pietra. Pietra helps content creators build their own CPG companies. So if you want to make hats, a chess set, apparel, makeup, anything you can think of, you can launch it on Pietra. And then along the way, I got the opportunity to take a pot of money from philanthropists and family offices and invest it into premium content. So now what I do is I run a company called Safe Space, which is a for-profit and also a nonprofit. And we invest in documentaries, feature films, scripted television, scripted features. And that's what I do now. Yeah, so one of the films you may have seen was The Trial of the Chicago 7, which was a Aaron Sorkin movie. Thanks. And there's a lot more coming this year and next year. So, yeah.
Hey everyone, James McFall, co-founder of Lockerverse. It's a community platform to help creators engage, connect to, and have a more robust relationship with their superfans. I'm a sports media and entertainment attorney by trade, landed in that field after going to Stanford. So thanks to all you USC and UCLA folks who abandoned us out in the Pac-12. Feels great. But I'm also a San Antonio native and avid Spurs fan. But I landed in my career after spending years as a sports media and entertainment attorney, represented some of the biggest names in that space. We're very fortunate enough to see a ton of deal flow for a lot of the creators. But what I quickly realized along with my co-founders was that these top tier creators were spending so much time, so much energy, so many resources trying to connect to the fans that most powered their monetization and engagement verticals. But because of the fragmentation problem that exists in the broader creator economy, really difficult to have a really meaningful relationship with their fans. So what I set out to do with some of my former partners and one of my former teammates from Stanford was to build out a platform that would actually solve that problem. And we're fortunate enough to get the backing of some of my former clients, who included Dave Mulugeta, who's one of the top NFL agents, represents most of the starting NFL quarterbacks. And my favorite former client and now board member of our company is Savannah James, LeBron's wife and Bronny Bryce and Zuri's mother. But we're really excited about where we're going. We're really trying to capture this next gen of creators, and was excited to be up here on this panel talking about AI. Because obviously it's going to be a transformative technology in terms of how creators engage with and connect to their fans. So happy to be here with you, and really looking forward to hearing from some of your questions.
James, I mean, Lockerverse has got quite a bit of notoriety. I mean, you want to talk about the Disney Accelerator, the Innovator Program?
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to be one of 6 companies in last year's Disney Accelerator program. Went through a pretty rigorous process to get selected for that. And then part of our vetting required us to basically allow Disney to get under the hood with our tech and make sure we were able to kind of meet the moment in terms of helping them monetize their IP across various verticals. Did one of the first metaverse plays with ESPN last year, and we'll be announcing a pretty robust set of partnerships here in the coming months. But really excited about where our company's going. We're really focused on the area of sports. We have 4 starting NFL quarterbacks who have either invested in or agreed to launch and build their digital communities directly on our platform. Our North Star in many respects is to try to do what Discord does, but I'm not sure if you all are users of that platform. And if you are, I think you've probably experienced a lot of friction. And if you've invited some of your friends who are not as technologically savvy to join you in those communities, I think you've probably seen a lot of them just be completely hesitant or resistant to interacting with that tech. So we're trying to be a much more user-friendly, engaging platform that's more connected to this next gen of consumer and creator. But I think Disney is going to be a pretty instrumental part of that growth journey. Thank you.
No, after all these guys, you should have started with me. Did Eytan really get applause for 50? By the way, I have spent 57 checks, and I plan to spend 57 more as well. Yeah. Okay, what, I don't know, data, Hollywood, I've kind of done it, sort of, I'll
Xavier sold his company to Hulu.
yeah. So I had a. Yes, yes. So founded a company called the Video Genome Project. Maybe you guys have heard of it. Structured data AI company back when people thought AI was just a Steven Spielberg movie. This is like 10 years ago. Actually was inspired by Eytan and his brother because they had a structured data company, Applied Semantics, which I'm sure everybody here has used in some capacity. And so I've known most everyone on this panel for quite some time. So I was inspired by these guys, started a structured data company. By the way, like I am not CS, not engineering. That wasn't my thing. Finance was my thing. That's the patches. You see, that's how you can tell. They asked wear something so we could tell who the numbers, who the audience should hate on the panel. So, but then I went from finance. I was a banker, and then similar to Jaden, I was an agent at the William Morris Agency, WMA, back when it was WMA, not WME. Then from there, packaged TV shows. I was at the Walt Disney Company, worked in strategy, business development, helped a guy start an advertising company. And then we did the Video Genome Project. And to Matt's point, it was Hulu's first and only ever acquisition to our knowledge. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I guess on the one hand, it's a good thing. On the other hand, maybe Hulu was like, no more acquisitions after this. And then what else? And then I kind of stayed in the entertainment content distribution space. I was at DirecTV, stood up and launched HBO Max. So maybe if you guys are paying for that, or Max, thank you very much, appreciate that. And then did corp dev and M&A for the parent company AT&T, and most recently have been I ran as a COO, CFO for a creator-based economy studio. And now I am I'm putting together quite a big project that is AI driven, which is why I'm here, and I'm excited. I love all these guys here, and not just because they're like, if you guys have a chance, I know you guys are very busy, you have to go to many panels and all that kind of stuff and try to find jobs or hire people, whatever, but everyone here is ridiculously funny. So that's why I'm here. And that's probably my number one criteria when I invest in companies. I'm an LP in pretty much everyone up here, or an advisor or partner. So anyway, that's it, man.
Thank you. Thanks. What did you learn from being a buyer and seller of companies over the last few years?
It is hard to buy and sell companies. I think for
And content, right?
yeah, and content. I'd say just to make the comments that probably a bit more relevant to this crowd. You know, there is one thing that's like part of my kind of biggest takeaway as an entrepreneur, because by the way, I've been on both sides. I've been like the guy that's like, oh, by the way, you know, the panel before, if any of you stuck around, like, so I'm involved with some of those guys too, the VCs, as is Eytan. And like, I've been on both sides, and I will tell you, when I'm on this side, the entrepreneur side, where, you know, the part where you have to get on your like knees and beg people for money and like, please, like use our product and all that kind of stuff. One thing that particularly for like this crew that I think is pretty important is the, it's like that Ian Malcolm. You guys know who Ian Malcolm is? Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum's character from Jurassic Park. So now you guys remember it. So you remember that scene where they were taking everyone through the tour of the facilities, and there's this great quote that that Ian Malcolm, the mathematician, said to the park owner. You know, and he said, "Wow, your scientists were so preoccupied on whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think of whether or not they should." Right. And one of the things that I learned from the Video Genome Project and being an entrepreneur is just because something, you can do something, like make sure that it's attached to the should, and the should ultimately should be attached to what consumers want. Like that's over the long term, what they want, what users want. And over the medium term, is what investors and financiers can get out of it. So that's just like, 10 seconds, you guys should talk too after this, but like when we did the Video Genome Project, we like had the coolest personalization engine, like the recommendation engine, all that kind of stuff. And we took it to all of our buyers, which were the Hulus of the world. And a lot of times they said to us, wow, this is so cool. And we're like, yeah, isn't it cool? And they're like, so what do we do with it? And so you have to, everything you do, you need to answer the so, as opposed to sometimes getting kind of caught up in a, like, look, we could write this code and isn't this cool if we do this? So that's probably my biggest lesson.
Thank you. All right, Eytan, you want to respond?
No, I was pointing to the conclusion of his statement.
There you go, for effect. Okay. Okay, so to set the stage here, we're going to do a bit of a Christmas Carol theme, okay? So we have the AI of the past, the AI of the present, and the AI of the future, okay? So to kind of set the stage, I don't know, like the whole idea though that data, okay, consumers generating it, sharing it, exchanging it for various services with tech platforms, and this idea that across media, entertainment, and technology, the companies are really starting to integrate that into their day-to-day. That's not a novel concept, right? We've been talking about that for 10, 15, 20 years. But what is new and is novel is in the last 18 months, you open up the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, I mean, any news, and it's like AI this, AI that. It's just generative AI, ChatGPT. I mean, you just can't get away from it. And all of a sudden, there's just been this massive acceleration in adoption. And so I think what we want to do here is talk a little bit about how we got there, and especially with respect to kind of all the backgrounds of the folks here on the panel, what we're seeing today, and then kind of where do we think we're going to go in the next 3 to 5, 5 to 10 plus years. That's a lot to accomplish over the next few, call it 40 minutes, but that's what we're going to try to do. So Eytan, do you want to talk a little bit about your kind of past experience? I mean, applied semantics, Google, Scopely, now with the VC side. Like, talk to us a little bit about your relationship with data and how you thought about it.
Yeah, this is a good thought, a good question, a good time for all of this. So we started, Oingo Applied Semantics, we built Adsense. It's currently a $30+ billion a year product at Google. When we built this product, it was absolutely the cutting edge of artificial intelligence at the time. We built this in the year 1999, 2000, about 23 years ago. And what did it look like to build an AI product in the year 1999? The concept of like large language models didn't exist. So it did exist, but that's just not how we built it. It wasn't the most efficient way to build it. We took 12 people who we hired as linguists who sat in a room and literally made manual connections between an ontology of words, meanings, and interconnections. They would literally be stringing the word table to chair and table and chair to seat, and they'd be manually stringing these things together. And you'd have 12 people who were like building this, like the way you would sew a sweater before a machine could build a sweater. So it's crazy to think that, I mean, probably the way you're building a large language model today has to be going at least 10 million times or 100 million times the speed we were building it then, and we were probably building it faster than anybody at the time. So that's crazy to me. But that's the past of AI.
Wait, hold on. Eytan.
Yes.
Just punctuating.
Oh, that was it. Just the point. I got it. Just the point. For effect.
I'm just going to hop to James for a second. James, as you're thinking about the back end, as you're thinking about Lockerverse and kind of the various ways to use data to then kind of build up and propel your creators, like what are the different sources that you guys have used in the past, and how have you thought about that as kind of like the underlying infrastructure that powers what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really excited about kind of this interaction of AI meeting blockchain technology in particular. I think once we start to see more users adopt blockchain technology and then having that technology in the data sets that grow from it also overlap with how viewers are engaging with the platform, chatting with one another, chatting with other super fans, engaging with content either on our application or externally that's connected to some of the creators that we're tied to. I think seeing that, different type of data sets, different type of consumer interactions, and bringing that all together is something that we're really excited about. Our co-founder spent most of his career at Bird, LinkedIn, and Pinterest doing exactly that. And so trying to apply it to a much younger generation of consumers and thinking about how it interacts, obviously, with the emergence of AI and blockchain to us is something that's really exciting.
Very good, very good. And Jaden, we're just going to keep the conversation going. Like, what I find interesting about your background is you had kind of like the entrepreneurial, trying to build up the creator economy. Now you're kind of dovetailing that into what we're seeing in Hollywood and safe space. Like, do you want to talk a little bit about how, like, the through line of your data, or I should say data analytics in your background?
Yeah, no problem. So it's interesting, this talk about data for me, because, starting out 20 years ago, movie making was one of the least data-driven businesses I could probably think of, maybe outside of restaurants and being a chef. Decisions are made over 7-year periods. They're made in a room with a writer, a producer, a couple executives, and it's very hard to tie who did what and when in terms of why something was successful. Like, try and build sort of a model for what movie will be a hit. That is the thesis of the year for anyone who can try and get that done. But as I kind of continued my career and I started building Pietro, which is this creator economy company, you're able to use data so much faster in a world where Facebook and Snapchat and the social media networks are able to deliver information to you so much faster. And so you're seeing these creators able to create content that is so much more engaging, so much more interesting than some of the premium content in Hollywood. And the work is trying to connect the two, to try and use data now to inform big budget, long timeline projects like premium content that we're creating. And one quick interesting note that we launched something about 6 months ago at Pietro that I think is kind of interesting. It's a little bit generative AI, so maybe we'll talk about it in a second, but it's called Business Kit. And essentially what we do is we make the work of going from having no idea to having some idea of what you want to build or what you want to make. So let's say you want to make an apparel line, a fashion line. You're a content creator, you want to make a fashion line. You may not know what to do on day one. You have this blank slate problem. You can now use AI using very small pieces of information, and then, the incredible large language model that is ChatGPT, to essentially flesh out the concept for an entire business. And that's something that is really powerful and will democratize the ability for creators to monetize their audiences. And that's kind of a little bit of my past in dealing with the issue.
Yeah, very cool. And thus far, has that been like a lot of creators adopting, kind of using that platform?
So they're using it, they're enjoying it, but the connecting between having an idea and then spending the money on getting samples made and spending the money to actually like build out the business is still a challenge, and something we're working on.
Right. Xavier, just on this point, and maybe just to tie to what Jaden was saying, like when we were at the VGP, was the idea of being able to identify like what could be a hit? Was that ever a use case that you wanted to flesh out? Is that something you guys were looking to do? Again, I'm just kind of curious to think about how your time at VGP is now kind of informed and change how you think about data, AI, and all of this, and maybe within the context of what Jaden was just talking about, that could be helpful.
Did we use the VGP output to determine hits?
Or could you have done that?
Yes, the answer is yes. Here's the complication with our space, or quite frankly, anything creative. Okay, actually, provocative statement. Here is the problem with data. So like if you want to be, and similar to Eytan, we were, we also had in the very beginning to train the model. You couldn't just hook up to other structured databases back then because there weren't. So we also had to manually put together the organizational schemas, but with all these semantics. And one thing that data is really, really good at, and the tools that you put on top of data is that they're good at that making more efficient things that are not, that should be more efficient, right? So like a great example is like buying airline tickets or something like that. Like back in the day, like 30 years ago, you had to call a travel agent, and literally what that travel agent did like she had a computer that tapped into another database. So you called someone so that they could like do a call into another database. I don't know how much value add that could have been, but so like you could see a tool to make that effective. The thing about creative stuff. Okay, so what's the provocative statement? So you guys know what the definition of data is? Like if you look it up, the definition of data is simply recorded information. And then the key to that recorded information is the last two letters of the first word, which is ed, recorded. So one of data's inherent flaws is that it is past tense. Now, maybe with like sort of these AI engines where you make an argument that like, you can make an argument that, well, we take historical stuff and we synthesize it and we create derivative work, which is actually, that's not past tense, that's new stuff. Yes, but it's derivative, right? And the thing about like our industry is that there is, if you just rely on the data, then you are only looking back into databases of stuff that's already happened. And like, this is from a long, long time ago, but one of the case studies that we looked at back then was that there's this movie called Napoleon Dynamite. Anyone familiar with that movie? Come on, this is a text engineering crew. Of course you're all familiar with that movie. No, I'm kidding.
That movie came out a long, long time ago. There's some kids in here.
Oh, no one's all adults.
There's
all adults.
Young people.
So do you want to know the thing about that? That when they were testing that movie, the tests were through the roof. Wait, no, what's the other one? Through the floor. Like it was like a disaster. Like nobody liked it. No one was going to do it, right? Why? Because they modeled that off of other movies like that in the past. And if you looked at that as an example, Napoleon Dynamite there was not an audience for Napoleon Dynamite. Obviously, not only has there proven to be an audience, but Eytan actually does those dance moves now. And maybe afterwards he will show you those dance moves. So anyway, the point is that you need, like, I think AI engines can help make things more efficient, but you do need new creative thought. And I don't just mean like the creative actor, writer, director. Yes, you need all that stuff, but also creativity in engineering, right? Also creativity in computer science, creativity in mathematics, right? Like the concept of a movie based on a toy is not a new concept. But the reason why Barbie is such a huge hit is because there's a fresh take, like I challenge you guys to find that take on like historically, right? And that is probably I don't even remember what the damn question was. Don't remember what but that's something. Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah. So
no, I think we've covered this topic in depth and detail. We should move on to the next topic.
Xavier, I'm curious, do you have a thought on like why are we talking about AI now? Like again, even data, structured data.
In our industry, with Hollywood, like why is Hollywood?
Let's start like in general. Why is this like a new thing? And then like with Hollywood, why are we talking about?
Well, to everyone's point here, AI, you all know this too, right? AI is not a new thing, right? Like we just called it different things, and like every now and then, like some journalist will grab on something and they'll catch like PR. Like, so now AI has become the thing. But like I said, Eytan and I were doing AI. Like I don't think we called it AI. Maybe he called it AI. We didn't call it AI. So AI has been.
It's true. We didn't really call it AI. I was looking up the definition for AI, and it just means any task that could have been done by a human, but you got software to do it. We just used to call that software.
That's right. So, but like AI is like a bit more like clickable, like tap, like people will get more.
You need something to get the stocks to go up every few years, and that's the thing.
Yeah. So you can answer it.
So here's the question: could an AI have predicted the success of Barbie, or is an AI still not good enough to figure that out?
You know, the problem is the AI. You need to take the structured data that exists already, the database that is, and the historical, like box office and success stuff, right? But then some human being needs to, like, again, creative thinking, needs to program that schema in such a way to go, like, what is the
A simple yes or no answer would have done here.
No, okay, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but somebody needs to program like things like, oh, the irreverent, like mocking at yourself. That has never been there on a brand. Like part of what Mattel did, Mattel allowed the filmmakers to make fun of themselves. That is not a thing. Like historically, do you guys know of any corporation that's like, sure, why don't you make our CEO and all the executives look like buffoons, right? That's not a thing. So there is no historical data that suggests.
Do you think an AI could look at a TikTok video and predict how many views that TikTok video will get with any certainty? You think so? I don't know. I think like everyone puts up these TikTok videos thinking they're going to be viral, and the one that goes viral is like, the one I saw yesterday, like the dude in West Virginia who just became sober and started singing a country song with a red beard. Like nobody knew this thing was going to get 3 million views or whatever. He certainly didn't know.
You can't. I don't like what Eytan said. So
like if you can't predict a TikTok video, 5-second TikTok video, like how can you predict a 2-hour movie?
But here's the problem: you can't start with like it can't be done, right? Because that's like that. You're making it binary. None of this is binary. None of this is all on a spectrum, right? So like can it be predicted? That's why when you're like, oh, just yes and no, you turned a non-binary question into a binary, and the true answer is not straight yes, and it's not straight no, right? Because there's a lot of factors. I can juice up on Netflix.
It's sort of like driver assist on Tesla.
If I was at Netflix, I could juice up like the success of something by putting it on the main mast, right? Like the main what is it called? You know, the first one. Yeah. No, the big one, the big at the very front. And by the way, one of the things Netflix does, please don't get upset at me, Ted Sarandos, but one of the things Netflix does is that if you notice, there's a lot of like titles on Netflix that are in the top 10 for 1 week. I wonder why that is, right? And so you can juice the stuff up, you know, and sometimes on TikTok, if it catches the right, like jet stream of like influencers, right? It goes fast.
Well, you ran a recommendation engine, right? Like,
yeah.
What is the difference between, I mean, and this is Matt's personal opinion, but I struggle with recommendation engines. I want to hear word of mouth. I want to hear what other people are watching. Like, what is it? Why is it that TikTok is able to feed an algorithm that like keeps my attention for so long, but then like when I get to long form content, it just doesn't work.
Here's my, and someone else should talk, but like here's I'll just briefly say this thing about TikTok, which is the reason why like short form content is so great for predictive algorithms is because of volume of the feedback loop is faster, right? So like, in other words, TikTok, I can gather a huge data set of usage, like in like a minute. But if you're watching a film or a TV show, like you gotta wait, like think about literally how much time you have to wait to see, if you're on the platform to see if that's successful. That's why short form, also the format, that like usage data, you're gonna have the structured metadata of the content, but the more usage data you can get at scale, the better your predictive algorithm, your predictive output is going to be. And that's why TikTok, I think, just kills it. And that's why everyone's moving. Facebook, Instagram, they're all moving to short form.
Does anybody in this room have more than 25,000 followers on a social media platform? There's one. Do you have any idea which videos are going to hit? No, he doesn't need videos. You also?
Yeah, I can help. Why? Because the new methodology is called tease, test, tweak, and then target. You're talking about virality. Virality is not a one shot, but you can tweak it in such a way with feedback what you were talking about. We can do it better. I give my algorithm to Coke India. They're analyzing 7,000 videos a day, and we're tweaking it for the Coke studios to make it better and better. Is it virality and result? It's not just virality. You can get the feedback.
It's like a study, like getting a tutor for your SAT. You get some help to make sure you might get a chance at virality. What's the next one?
Well, we're going to move past the ghost of AI past and move into AI of present. So, I mean, it's no surprise or no shock here that when we talk about present day Hollywood AI, I mean, as we talk about the strikes, I mean, two of the big hangups here are, writers and the role of AI in writing, as well as actors and the role of AI in replicating or factoring in their likeness into content. So we'll set that as kind of like ultimately that's where we're going to get to. But let's talk about how AI right now is affecting each one of you. James, I'll start with you here because you have the mic. Like, one of the interesting things about your background is you kind of wear two hats, right? You've got your entrepreneurial, Lockerverse, creator part of your background, but then you're also a lawyer, right? You've had quite a bit of experience, and I'm just kind of curious, as you're thinking about speaking to creators or your clients about data and AI and all the privacy and protection elements that come up with that, like, what are you telling them, and how is that kind of affecting? How what you're hearing in the market affecting what you tell them?
Yeah, I think it's actually a fascinating time, and I'll take it a little bit from a sports lens in particular. I was actually around back in the day when NCAA college football was basically ripping everybody's name, image, and likeness and not compensating any of the players. And was fortunate enough to get my couple $100 settlement along with the rest of the guys I played with back in the day for that use of our likeness after some court decisions. But ultimately, I think what's happening now, and with the decision a few years back from the Supreme Court allowing amateur athletes to monetize their NIL, it's just a huge opportunity for younger creators now to realize that they are a business. And I think part of that requires them to be thinking about these nuanced issues of law and how people are going to start trying to monetize you early and earlier and being proactive in that journey. So one of the things that we talk to a lot of our creators who happen to be, let's say a McDonald's All-American basketball player, for example, they're able at 17, 18 years old to make, $1 million, $2 million where they couldn't have made $1 years back. And I think part of that requires you to be very intentional in terms of the contracts that you're entering into with people. Now there's provisions that are being slipped in that give folks the rights to, if you sit on a photo shoot or video shoot or interview, for them to take your likeness and use it in perpetuity and apply AI and data to that and use it in different commercial engagements down the road, and you never be compensated for that. So one of the things I talked about to a lot of my former clients was just being very deliberate, looking out for those clauses, and to the extent you have that negotiating power, to make sure you have appropriate protections to be able to monetize that on an ongoing basis. And so when we started thinking about creating our platform, we were trying to be very intentional about putting the power back in the hands of the creators and thinking about how do we enable them to have a direct relationship with their fans so there's no middleman that gets able to take that advantage directly from you. But I think we're seeing this emergence of the businessman or woman creator at a much younger age. And I think it's something that's going to be just fascinating how we see these 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds start to take advantage of their talents and making sure that they're protected in ways that I think previous generations just weren't.
And how do you even think about like the timeline of all of this, right? Like they're going to sign a deal or sign a contract now that, all right, fine, for the foreseeable future. But then like, how do you think about likeness 10 years out and the fact that you may be part of that? Like, how do you protect? What's a good example of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's happening in basically every facet of entertainment, but how I see it is people are basically saying, my value now is maybe as high as it's ever going to be. And I think that's especially true in the world of football, where the average pro career is 3 years and most people don't even make it there. Now we're seeing folks at the NFL level apply data and analytics to how they are entering into contracts with various players. That's why the running back position is extremely devalued, because you can look at a data set now and it's going to tell you with 96% certainty when a guy's going to get injured. That's completely different than existed 5-10 years ago, where coaches were going on gut and how much, you know, certain players spend in the weight room or the training room, or really paid attention to their general health and nutrition. Now it's not going on feelings, or the numbers don't lie. And I think because there is so much data behind this, it is forcing folks, it's forcing the creator, it's forcing the athlete to really say, hey, you know, it doesn't matter if I'm coach's favorite. It doesn't matter if the GM loves me. The data isn't supported, I'm not going to be around in a year or two. And I think what's happening is you're seeing much more strategic, much smarter, I think, players, much smarter creators than we ever have, because they have to grow up so much faster in today's world.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's like one of the benefits of working with someone like Lockerverse, or a company like Lockerverse, right? You're helping them basically maximize their potential value today with an eye toward the future.
Well, at the end of the day, we're a community platform, and our thesis is that for any creator to find success, they have to be able to identify, engage with, and capture those super fans. So if you can do that in a single place and have that robust engagement where your relationship is direct to them, not through a middleman, we think there's a tremendous upside there. So that's really where we think the value is instead of you, the creator, putting your future, your super fan relationship, and giving your content away to a platform where you have no upside. We're trying to, you know, change up that paradigm and give you direct ability to engage and capture and have a robust relationship with the fans that are going to support you today, tomorrow, and hopefully in perpetuity.
That's great. That's great. All right, Jaden, here's the controversial, or not controversial, but am I going to see a documentary about AI coming out by Safe Space? Or like, I have to imagine there's something in the slate that has to do with it.
Did you know that was a softball question?
Yes,
That's
totally.
Actually, that's a good question. Because yes, good question. So did you guys see The Social Dilemma? Yes, on Netflix. So the guys that created that were this guy named Tristan Harris and Asa Resnick, and they founded something called the Center for Humane Technologies, and we are working with them on a sequel to it called The AI Dilemma. And what's really fascinating right now, just to talk about the ghost of Christmas present in AI, is, I guess the way that they describe it is almost akin to what happened in the 40s and 50s with nuclear power. We've essentially split the atom in terms of this new technology that we've invented. And there's a wonderful future ahead for the world of premium content and everything, really. But there are a lot of dangers that people are scared of. And I don't know if, Matt, this is the right time to talk about like the strike and what's going on.
Sure. Yeah, right now.
You guys are interested in that. But so there's a historic strike going on in Hollywood right now. The actors and the writers have stopped work. And they're really fighting over, I guess it's really three things, right? The first thing is sort of a traditional battle between labor and capital. You know, every so often they have to renegotiate whether the executives make enough money or too much money, whether the baseline pay is correct for inflation. That's one of the standard negotiation that happens all the time. And that's going on right now, and that makes a lot of sense. The second part is copyright infringement and likeness infringement and trademark infringement. In a world with generative AI, you can suddenly pay an extra $100 one time and use his face or her face for the next 1,000 years. And what that means in terms of legislation, that's kind of a larger conversation to have. And the third is the fear of obsolescence that comes from actors and writers, right? Where before you need to have, let's go to the SNL writers room, for example. Maybe you need 15 people in there just throwing ideas in the ring. This skit, this skit, this skit. What about this? What about this joke, this joke, this joke? With AI and how it's evolving, you will be able to generate a lot of those ideas without as many human beings. And so people are scared about what that means. And so I'm not necessarily going to weigh in on the ethics of that one way or the other, but I think to something that Xavier said earlier, the consumer is always going to set what happens, right? That they're either gonna buy things from Netflix or they're gonna go to TikTok and just watch not premium, they're gonna watch content there because it's either cheaper, it's more interesting, that's where the creators are going. And if we're fighting for, I don't know, a certain number of writers in a room, consumers are just gonna go work with the creators who are just doing this by themselves in their garages. You know, one creator with ChatGPT and Midjourney and 11 Labs for voiceover and Topaz to upscale resolution, that guy is just gonna, or girl, that person's just gonna make an entire trailer for Wes Anderson plus Star Wars. You know, it's gonna cost them $50 and they're gonna throw it up on YouTube, it's gonna go viral and they're gonna be able to monetize that. So like, that's kind of the world that's coming, and I think it's important to set that stage. But it's also really important to talk about like the ethics of deepfakes and what it means to steal someone's likeness and image. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Anything you, Xavier, I mean, my point of view, I agree, Jaden. I'm just wondering, like, I mean, there's always going to be professional content, right? Xavier, I just kind of curious of your thoughts on this topic.
On the strike?
Yeah, I mean, just in response to what Jaden was talking about.
I think Hollywood needs to get its come together. This is really, really not good for all sides, and the actors, the writers, the studios. I'm always baffled at how short a memory people have. Like I'm a little bit of a business and like a history nerd, right? And like, honestly, look back almost in every industry, but especially in ours in Hollywood, this has happened. This has happened, like it happened 20 years ago. By the way, literally every decade you can choose something and it happens. And it's like the same movie. Like we know how this is going to end, right? For the like 20 years ago, this happened in the music business. I'm old, but like I grew up buying CDs and CD, by the way, for young people,
Compact discs. Do you play Frisbee with this?
Just imagine like on Spotify, like if you could only buy like 20 songs at once or 15 songs at once, and you really just wanted that one song, right? That's how music was sold. And people did not want to buy that way, but you had no choice because that's how you gotta do it. So we would go to the, in Westwood, we'd go to the, was it Tower? What was it? Is it? Rhino Tower. We'd go like every time there was a new like artist that came out, whatever, and we'd go, oh, that song, we heard it on the radio, I want to buy that song, and you had to spend like $18 or $15 or like buying the whole thing, and you pray that there's more than one song that you like, but typically there's 1.5 songs you'd like, but you have to spend that. Obviously, we didn't, like consumers didn't want to do that. You don't want to do that, right? And then
They don't want to hear you're going back up to school, uphill both ways, old man stuff. They get it. They didn't have that technology.
what's the end of the story? Go ahead.
Where were we?
Okay. So here's the.
Oh yeah, the consumer wins.
Yeah.
The consumer wins.
So here's the point.
Technology
Came out, right? And there's a guy, Sean Parker, who came out with this technology that allows you to rip stuff, pirate stuff, whatever. And then the record labels, the incumbent entertainment industry was like, no, you cannot do this. This is completely illegal, which it was, right?
But we did it anyway.
But you did it anyway.
Because everyone did it.
Because you cannot go
Stolen music.
You cannot go against the will of the consumer. You cannot do that, right? And so ultimately the consumer will always win. And then guess what happened? A little technology company.
A lot of 8-year-old kids got sued for like $2,200.
A little technology company up north said, hey, Hollywood, hold my beer because I'm going to come up with a platform that, because consumers.
Wasn't Spotify based in Europe?
Because consumers don't really want to. Consumers don't really want to steal, like they want to feel like, but they just don't want, it was inefficient. And so there's a company in Cupertino that came up and said, hold my beer, we're going to come up with a platform and we're going to allow consumers to buy songs one at a time, and we'll have them pay 99 cents. And the record label, and the pitch to the record label was, or you could get nothing for it. And so the record labels were like, okay. And by the way, where are we now? Who is the biggest distributor? Who are the two biggest distributors of music in the world? Apple and Spotify, right? Apple and Spotify should not have existed but it was because Hollywood was resisting technology and consumers. So to your point on the strike, I am concerned. I don't even know, am I technology or Hollywood? I don't know. But like, I'm concerned for my Hollywood peeps that like, guys, while you're all fighting with one another, okay, what's going to happen is some other platform is going to go, that's cute. Like, you know, TikTok's going to be like, that's okay, because while you're fighting, we are going to train consumers to get into short form to like that content, which by the way costs like $100 an hour as opposed to $500,000 or $10 million an hour, and then it'll be gone. And so I think that if we can't come to agreement on the strike quickly, I think it'll be very hard to train particularly young people back. I would ask you guys, how many of you guys how many of you guys watch like more than 2 hours of TV a day? Yeah, nobody. Sorry, Netflix. You know,
How many of you guys watch more than 30 minutes of Reels plus TikTok in YouTube combined?
right. So by the way, we need to, as in Hollywood, this is the concern, is that if we don't fix
How many people in the room are NPCs?
all right. Anyway, that's my
She's the only one who's real.
Matt, that is my concern, is that while it's our industry is trying to hold on, consumers are going this way, and we're fighting with each other and trying to hold on to consumers saying, stop it, don't watch the content that you want to watch our content, which by the way, professionally produced content is important. Like Barbie movie, that could not have been made by like a TikTok creator. That content is super important, and I hope we can resolve it soon. Thank you.
Just quickly, because I want to get to AI of the future. Quick aside, Eytan, when you're looking at like as an investor, obviously ton of new companies coming out, AI, intersection of media, entertainment, AI. What are the things that folks in the audience should know because you're interested in and kind of looking at those businesses?
Are we talking about, well, I'm going to twist your question. Yes, as an investor, I've come to learn essentially that the founder usually remains the same, but the idea often changes or gets tweaked. So really have to kind of go get to know that founder a bit. And I like to look at your history and talk to the person and figure out where you went to high school and what you did in college and how long you stayed at your first job and what kinds of things you find interesting and what you've accomplished in your life. And it's like any other interview, you're just getting to know a person and figuring out, you've got this idea, are you going to take the next 5 years to actually work on it? Because these companies take 5, 6, and 7, 8 years to build, and if you're not willing to put in that amount of time, which is totally fine, because not everybody in this world should be building a startup. Are you willing to put that time in, and have you accomplished things in the past and try and figure out, is this person who's going to keep fighting and build out their vision?
And that's unchanged in the, call it pre-AI boom and post-AI?
Yeah, that doesn't make a difference. I think you're looking for some grit, somebody who's willing to get punched in the face and then keep getting up despite getting pummeled.
And it consumes the person. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's like a 24/7 job. So
yeah, got a little cray, you know, a little cray.
All right, let's move to AI of the future. Yeah. Let's move to AI of the future. Okay, what if I told you, okay, that in the future, and I'm kind of ripping this off as well, that you have a relationship with a tech platform, and that tech platform would observe you in your day-to-day, okay? And then I know it's happening right now, and then in real time would dramatize your life, okay? All of a sudden, we're we see Eytan wake up in the morning, we see him drink his coffee, right? And
Actually, what our lives are right now.
yeah,
AI, the universe, AI, that's sort of.
but then in real time, it then dramatizes it and then puts it on that same platform for everybody to watch.
I'm saying that's.
Right, so that's not AI in the future. You're saying like that's AI of today. Okay.
Potentially. Who do you believe in simulation? Low number.
Okay, all
Who do you
right.
believe in UFOs?
UFOs, anybody? All right, so look, the what I'm describing was on an episode of Black Mirror on Netflix, right? Everybody hates Joan, or Joan is the worst, or something like that. Joan is awful. Yeah, and then the fascinating part of it is that they then take Hollywood names and they render their likeness to be Joan, or the main character in that TV show. So here's my question to the panel. Like, Eytan, it sounds like you're like, that's probably not too far away from happening today, right? Like that is, we're really close. But like, if that is a future vision of what AI could, how AI could, you know, manifest itself in Hollywood in the future, how far are we away from that? And like, you know, what are the implications?
Here's what I think. So what I'm getting at is, it's very possible, you've probably seen, it's very possible that if we get to this piece where AI can actually go and foresee things to make your life a little more entertaining, interesting, chaotic, such that it'd be interesting for everybody to watch. So it'd be interesting for each individual to watch. It'll definitely get indistinguishable from your actual life. So we might already be there, we might be inside it, and I don't think we'll know the difference.
It's kind of like TikTok today.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten to a point where all of us are so addicted on TikTok because they're so good at figuring out exactly what we want to watch. I mean, we've already made so much progress on figuring out exactly what's going to keep us entertained so that we can't put any of these things down. Anyway, I have no more to say on this topic. I'm going to hand it to Jaden.
How far are we away from that life?
It's a good question. It's, if we're in it, I don't know, maybe. But in terms of technology in this simulation that we're in, and whether or not within this simulation we can create more simulations, I think that I'll tell you about the state of Gen AI today, because it's something that we talk about every day, all day, with all the creators that we're working with. Right now, if you look at the tools that exist from, you know, you probably know what they are: 11 Labs, Topaz, Midjourney, Adobe is deep in it now. What you will find is that Premiere, After Effects, blah, blah, blah. What you'll find is that AI is very good at generating ideas and concepts. It is a little rough at like empathy and like why we're doing this and like getting sort of that human touch. But it is very good at the end. It is very good at post. It is very good at removing things from video, adding things to video. It's very good at details. And you can certainly tell a story much cheaper, much faster. And honestly, it's going to be much better because you've got to go through so many more ideas. We are a little bit of ways away from being able to have that Black Mirror episode happen. But
there was data recently about these people were putting in, these people had a health problem, they were talking to a doctor, they were either talking to a real person or an AI doctor. And it turns out the AI doctors already have better bedside manner. They're already better at pretending to be empathetic than humans are now. So whether or not they actually feel these emotions, you can almost say it doesn't matter. Like, you can program them to do it, and they're already successfully doing it.
It's the same thing with like customer service, right? You can clone your best in the world customer service representative. And
are we going to miss the people at Starbucks writing our names incorrectly? Because it's so fun when they do it. But when AI comes, they're never going to misspell our name again. And what are we going to talk about with our friends?
Yeah.
We'll just be sitting staring at the wall. We know humor anymore. That's how they misspell it. I've got a really difficult name. They always, I haven't been to Starbucks in years, so this is all made up. It's an AI story.
I used to tell people my name was Mike.
My wife hates Starbucks, so I don't know why. How can you even tell the difference between coffee? Because
the headline of the whole.
He's an Alfred guy.
Oh, that we don't like Starbucks. All right, so let's move on. Yeah.
Anyway, so
They're the sponsor of the show.
Right. Now we're toast.
Okay, cut that part out.
edit. AI can edit that out.
It's about damn time to finish this particular statement.
James, any thoughts before?
Yeah, I mean, I think the technology is obviously transformative, but just to hit on the personal side of things, I still think there's a long time where we're going to have people who have real skill sets, who are distinguished from the field, who've got that ability to engage and interact and have people be interested in them because of the things that they themselves are doing, not that some computer generated function is doing. I mean, there's certain touches that an athlete can generate that no computer ever will. There's something magical about some stage performer who's able to interact with an audience on Broadway and connect and use their eyes and their body and their movement to create a feeling and a sentiment that a computer, I think, never will. So I think the charge for technologists or the media industry at large is to continue to equip people with tools to make their ability to do the day-to-day tasks easier, to make the programming, the thought processes, the idea generation easier. But there is something that's magical about those people with the special talents that captivate an audience. That's always, in my opinion, going to be the secret sauce. So I think that's where the challenge is going to be, is making sure we identify, we cultivate, and we give those people the tools that they need to do it at a robust level.
This is actually kind of just a question. Seeing like a Broadway play, for example, I wonder, just wondering out loud, like, imagine you could recreate prima facie Jodie Comer, but she's not actually there. She does the performance once, and then it looks exactly like she is there, right? Would we as an audience discount that tremendously? Just because, what's the point of everything we're doing anyway, if not to connect with each other? You know what I mean? It's like, would you go pay the same amount to see that? Or would you like, this is fake. I know it's fake, even though I can't tell. I just know deep down, and what the veracity of information and performance is. I don't actually know the answer, but.
How about a Prince concert?
How about a Prince concert? Oh, it's for, it's for like, fancy people, the theater crowd. Prima facie, Jodie Comer, no, Broadway? Anyway. Prince concert.
Prince, yeah.
Sorry, wrong crowd.
Yeah, Prince would be great. All right, we have like 2 minutes left. Xavier, quick question, just to take us home a bit here. What can Hollywood do, right? Broadly, question one. Question two, like as part of that, what should they be doing? How much should be AI, and why or why not? Like, what should they be doing?
So, if you want to sort through all the talk, I actually think by the way, edit this stuff out. Can we AI some people off this panel? No, is what James just said before Jaden's Broadway comment. That is the most important thing for this panel, like this the takeaway, which is the things that, like, first of all, we can automate anything. That doesn't mean we should, right? And the reason is because the stuff that should be automated is the stuff that becomes rote. By the way, when stuff first happens, it's almost never rote, right? By definition, right? But the way human beings can move forward, or really any system can move forward, is you have to try things that may not work. And AI engines shouldn't try things that may not work. So therefore, like what James said, whether it's a running back that does how about, I was reading this thing, watching this thing, the first time in basketball, somebody did a pick. Could you imagine the first time, everyone's like, what is he doing? He's standing there, right? But that then became an important part of something, right? Of the game. So I don't think, whether it's creativity, ingenuity, you need to be able to do things that have never been done before, and understanding fully that it could fail, right? Like I just see, like I play chess a lot, like online chess, and I just see the difference in the creativity of how chess is played today versus 50 years ago, because sometimes you make a move and like the other shot's like, what are you doing? That's not a good move. That's a suboptimal move. And you go, oh, that's it. But that move would never have happened if you just relied on AI, right? And therefore, I think the creativity, the ability to fail needs to come from human beings always.
The AIs are pushing us to become better versions of ourselves.
But you need to always have, like, someone needs to try something that like everyone goes, dude, that's never been done before. That's not going to work. Yes, but we need to introduce that into our data set. Okay, that's what I think Hollywood right now needs more than ever. And that's why I think the creatives are so important. But right now, the creatives are lumping in all of the stuff that should be automated, right? Like Jaden said it, like the post stuff, the this.
Right, so what you're saying is if the writers don't allow an AI writer in the room, the movie's not going to be as funny.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's not what you're saying at all.
No, that's
Did you
not what
guys
I'm
get
saying at
that?
all. No, what I'm saying is the stuff, you still need new, different ideas, but the stuff that can quickly be like, like just roaded, like, by the way, I started with a travel agent example. Travel agents, you can AI and automate the find the ticket, find whatever. You know what you can't automate? Here's everything about me. Here's my family. Here's my kids. Where should I go? Right? And someone needs to say, well, have you tried Hawaii? I haven't tried. You know what you should do? You should take your 3 and 5-year-old kid to Prague. Prague? That doesn't make sense for 3 to 5-year-old kids. That creativity cannot be automated. And that's why I hope the creatives in Hollywood and the business people can come together soon. Otherwise, Silicon Valley will just usurp everything. Thanks.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for everybody out there. You mean once you have to get onto a Zoom, they get some personal information about you? Holy shit, I never even thought about that. I've been on a lot of Zooms.
Were you guys in the previous?
Oh, you're saying you have to push the button that says, we might record you and... Can't you say, I don't want this to be recorded on Zoom? You can't say it? I think so you're somewhere when you pushed agree to use Zoom in the little fine print, it said, I might record you and make something out of your face. You might still be able to sue them.
But guys, like, here's the thing. You can't live in this society without some stuff like that, right? Like, you know who has been capturing more data on you, more personal data on you for the last 30 years more than anyone else? The credit card companies, right? And you still use it. And that's sort of the trade-off that, like, some of this stuff, like the previous panel, Eric Huberman said that. He's like, look, his view, the VC from Hawk, his view is like, look, everyone knows, like, China is taking all your data from TikTok, but we still use it. And so that's kind of the trade-offs. I guess you could not. Yeah.
Can't they find your face just when you're walking down the street anyway? Can they just get it? They can just get all of our faces anyway. I don't know.
Someone could take your picture right now, like literally right now. Like, someone could take your picture, and because you're in a public area and all that. And so I don't know. You just have to be vigilant.
The work is actually legislation around what is allowed with, that's what the AI guys are all working on, the ethicists. Like, the work is legislating. So give an example, privacy wasn't actually set into law before Kodak started introducing film to consumers. But then, like, oh shit, this is fucked up. Like, we can't have people just taking pictures of everybody at left and right. So pardon my language. And the same thing is happening. Yeah, I got fired up. This is what's happening in AI right now, where it's like, don't do this. But like, if you did Google deepfake, you'd find some very disturbing things of like daughters, sisters, friends who have been introduced into pornography without their consent. And when people go to take this stuff down, The platform says, no, we're protected by the social media law of whatever, and we can't find the person who made it. And it's actually, they own the copyright to this pornography because they created it. And the girl's like, it's my face. I didn't agree to do this. They're like, yeah, but your face was on Facebook. So like, we can do what we want with your image because it's in the public domain and there's no one to blame here. And the FBI doesn't know what to do and the local police force doesn't know what to do. And so this is an uncharted territory and a very important question around how we move forward together as like a group, as a society. So it's a good question. Oh, is it that what the next panel is about? The 10?
That's part of this panel. The next panel is about ethics and AI.
Oh, yeah, great.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. I think we're done with time. Yeah. All right. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, everyone.